All right, unless you were living under a rock, there was a gaggle of majority white folks that tried to storm the Capitol. They did storm the Capitol, caused a bunch of vandalism, defecated in the hallways, stole information, stole, just things that were in the Capitol. But I want to point this out because I think this is super important in the way that everything works. Kalief Browder allegedly stole a backpack at 16. Kalief Browder is a black man. Black 16-year-old at the time. He spent 3 years at Rikers Island without trial, and then he ended up committing suicide afterwards due to the trauma that incurred in Rikers Island. Riley Williams, white woman, stole a laptop from Speaker Pelosi's office and tried selling it to the Russians. She was released to her mother. There are two justice systems in America. Continue on. Taylor Enterline, a black woman arrested during a protest, was held on $1 million bail. Riley June Williams, a white woman, broke into the Capitol, stole Pelosi's laptop, tried to sell it to Russians, got a lecture, and went home under her mom's custody. Red Fawn Fallis got 57 months in prison for a weapons charge protesting at Standing Rock. Insurrectionist Riley Williams broke into Speaker Pelosi's office, stole, we know how that goes. Riley Williams, white woman who broke into the Capitol, stole Nancy Pelosi's computer, and was part of an armed deadly insurrection, was arrested on Monday and released on Thursday. Grace, a 15-year-old black girl from Detroit, was arrested and held for 78 days for not doing her homework. So this goes into like folks that don't understand the prison system or the litigation system in America. There were hundreds of black men that were being held in Cook County Jail in Chicago in a holding cell. They were being held over. And some of them may have been innocent. There's another information piece there that says there was a kid who was held in, I believe it was jail or prison for 7 years, waiting for trial. Got out, took the jury 30 minutes to find him innocent. Cool, he's out. It's a person of color. Riley Williams, we repeated what happened there. So there are most definitely two types of legal systems here. And they see justice differently depending on if you're white or not. That's just the bottom line. And I was doing a Zoom call, a forum with some law students at the University of Minnesota, and Maayan Burrell's lawyer was on the call as well, who successfully got him out of prison. And the one thing I told all the kids there, and I guess this video is for folks going into law or folks that are in law, is that you're already going into a system that's duplicitous, wrought with injustice, disparity, and money. At the end of the day, when you look at juvenile correctional facilities, there are judges that get paid to have juveniles go into those correctional facilities and then employ the people that work there. There's been complaints, hey, we don't got enough people in prison. We got to get more people in prison here to make this prison work. They're building new prisons. When you look at the two institutions that have been around in this country the longest, one of them is banks and the other one is prisons. So when you look at both of those, look at where the money is. Monies are obviously in banks, but they're also in prisons too. That's modern day slave trade. That's a modern day slave trade. So when we look at and it's also, when we talk about slavery, we're talking about the melanin in people's skin as well. When we're looking at how black men, men of color, are being driven to prison and being treated, that is a stark difference, a giant difference to how white folks are being treated. Because you look at Riley Williams and look no further. Look no further than Riley Williams and compare it to Kalief Browder. Compare it to any other person of color I just explained in this video, how they've been treated. Amina McCaskill. We were on the highway protesting. Amina McCaskill was brought in for, I believe she was held over for 2 or 3 days, and then and is looking at big charges, looking at real big charges. John Ripple, a white man who shot outside of his business, killed a black man. Calvin L. Horton Jr. walked into jail, left jail 48 hours later, hasn't been back. And they're not going to charge him. And they said that they don't have surveillance footage from the cameras at Cadillac Pond to prosecute John Ripple. So, but yet there are cameras there. So all this being said is, yes, there are two different justice systems in the US. And one is unfairly imprisoning and caging black folks and folks of color at a disproportionate rate to white folks. And the other one is taking white insurrectionists, for example, and just slap on the wrist. So for you who are going into law or are in law, how can you change that going forward? Can you change the system from the inside, being a lawyer, potentially going to become a judge? When you go to the ballot box and you see the choices to vote for judge and it's all one name, incumbent, that's got to change. How do we change that? How do we get more judges of color? How do we get more black judges? And it's not to say that, well, black judges are going to fix all of this. The idea is to, how do we create an equal playing field where it's not all white judges? Let's get more judges of color and see what happens. So, or that judges have to actually compete for their jobs. So that being said, how are you going to change that system? And what does that look like going forward? I'm really curious what people think about that, because for me, it's got to change. The system is built on punishment over rehab. It's not even entertaining rehab is what it's doing. It's just saying punishment, 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 punishment. So not even addressing people, like when I work as a paraprofessional with youth and with the elderly, the idea is, okay, how can we talk about that? Let's redirect that. If you want to redirect it. If you don't, let's talk about why you don't. As opposed to, man, get out in the hallway and sit down for a half an hour. You know, like, punish you for your behavior. Condemn. It's not even punishing you for your behavior. It's condemning your whole body. You are this. As opposed to, hey, well, that behavior is not welcome here. Let's go take a walk in the hallway. You and me, we'll come back and try to change it. Okay? As opposed to, you may have stolen the backpack, spent 3 years in Rikers Island, which is going to traumatize anybody and is causing irrevocable damage and mental pain to not only folks like Kalief Browder, but that hurts an entire community. That hurt me to see that. That hurt me as a black man to read what happened to Kalief Browder, because I see myself in Kalief Browder. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you're repeated that image and that story, it affects you. It absolutely does. So, and again, I come back to, how are you going to change the legal system? How? As a lawyer or as a person that's going to become a judge. Think about that. All right. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this video. We'll see you in the next one.